Okay, class, I wanted to go over some UV unwrapping really quickly. There seems to be some confusion from students on this about whether you should do UV unwrapping or not do UV unwrapping, or what UV unwrapping is, and do I need to do it? Mudbox is going to do it. Okay, there's all kinds of confusion out there, okay? So let me just take you through something really quick, and let's just unwrap something. So here's a little doohickey I have here, pretty simple to unwrap, and so we're going to do that. Now, I'm going to go in here and create a material for this. So you just need a standard shader on this. I would never use a standard shader for anything else, but just kind of a dummy shader, but for this it's fine. And in our diffuse, we're going to put a checker on here. Now, we use a checker as just something to be able to see a pattern on our object so we can see stretching or not, okay? So put this on our object. Now, to see the checker in your viewport, a lot of tutorials forget to mention this, is that by default, we can't see it in the viewport. What you have to do is click this button right here, Show Shaded Material in Viewport, and then you can see your material on your object. Now, this object already has some mapping coordinates on it. It's not good mapping coordinates, but it has mapping coordinates on it because it was created from a primitive. Primitives already have mapping coordinates on them when they're initially made, okay? Now, this checker is pretty big on here. And you can make these checkers any colors you want. It doesn't really matter. They're just kind of little dummy checkers on there. So if you want to play with, making them some different colors, then, you can do that. It doesn't make any difference. Right here's our tiling. I'm going to go ahead and type 10 in here. And we need to keep them square, so the same in both the U and V, so that we can see our coordinates on here. Okay. Okay, let's turn off the wire. Okay, so now we can see it's got coordinates on here. Now, this has got box coordinates on here, so you can see there's a seam right there where the box coordinates are. And you can see it's not very good. There's stretching and stuff on it. I mean, what we're trying to look for, just so you know, is we want squares. Now, see, that's pretty good right there. That's a square, but see how these are not square? These are all stretched. So what happens is when you're painting your bitmap to go on it, your pixels are going to be stretched on here. So just think of these squares as pixels. Think of those, and pixels should be square. So we're stretching our pixels here. So we don't want to do that. So we want to come in here and unwrap this, okay? Put a better coordinate on it. So what we're going to do is come down here and get an unwrap UVW. Now, obviously, I'm in Max, okay? Maya, you can do similar things in Maya too. Okay, in here, unwrap is what we've got, and you see all these green seams? That's where all the seams are right now. So when this map is going to be unfolded, that's where all the seams are going to be, and that's really not what we want, so we're going to redo those. So over here on our UV unwraps, lots of tools over here, but down here at the bottom is configure, right here where it says map seams, that's existing seams. Turn that off, and then we don't have to look at those, okay? Then the one below it is peel seams. We want to leave that one on because that's the seams where we're going to put seams, okay? So we're doing what's called going to be a peel, which basically means we're going to peel this into pieces, and we want to see those seams, so we'll leave peel seams on. Now, there's lots of ways you can do this. One way is to go here by edge, and I'm going to peel it right along that edge is where I'm going to split it. So I click that, and I can click loop right here, which will select all of those all the way to one side to the other. And then right here is a button, this third one over. We click on that, and that converts it to a peel seam, which are blue, and I can see that because I have this line on, okay? So I'm going to go back to my material, and I have a tendency to just like it in black and white. Other people like colors. That's totally up to you. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, so I can see that blue pretty nice right there. And so I'm going to cut this inside piece separate. So I'm going to click right here, loop that, make it a seam. Same thing here. Loop that and make it a seam. And do the same over here. Loop, seam. And I'm going to get this one up here. Loop, seam. Okay, now we're going to have a problem in here because if I try to loop this, and as a matter of fact, I think for right now, what I'm going to want to do here is let's just unplug this checker right now. We're just trying to get the seams. We don't need to see that in here. Watch this. If I go right here and I try to loop this, it's going to stop right on that point right there, okay? Because the way that comes in there. Now, you have another thing in here called point-to-point seam. When you click it, if I click a point, then I have a rubber band, and then I click another point, and it's going to connect those. And so in some places, That's a faster method doing that. Okay, now you see how those are all cut across. So I've got the inside cut as a piece and the outside cut as a piece. Now the problem with the outside, as a matter of fact, I don't think I want this in here. Okay, so what we're going to do is grab turn this off, turn this one on, which is edit seams, pick this. Why is it not letting me pick yet? Okay, what I'm going to do here is hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to drag a box around these, and I'm going to deselect those. So you have to turn this one on around here to edit these, and I'm going to take these off because I'm going to leave this as one piece, and I'm going to separate it into here. So right now it's separated for the inside. Oops. Control key, add to it. Okay, so inside and outside right there. Now, if I want to, I can go ahead and grab that and unpeel it. But what I want to do here is, if I was to try to flatten this piece, it's gonna bunch because it needs to be able to split in these corners. Okay, so I'm just going to do my point to point, and I'm going to tell it to cut itself right there, cut itself right here. Let's cut it here and here. And get the other sides. Okay, so now that has enough seams to be able to fold out and be pretty decent. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we can go ahead and open up our UV editor, okay, and it'll pop out. And we're going to get a bunch of mess right now because it's still got its original. I'm going to go to polygons and pick all these polygons, and I'm just going to move them out right now. So move them outside of our main area right here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this poly in here, and I'm going to unwrap this one first. So once I have that grabbed, this button right here tells it to grab all of those up to the seam. So you'll see it selects all those as it goes up to that seam, okay? And then I can tell it to go ahead and pelt map this. Now, which is called not pelt map, I'm sorry, but quick peel. Do a quick peel here, or you can click the button here, either one, and then you'll see that it peeled that piece off, okay? Now, personally, a lot of times, you know, on something like a quick peel, I like it, and sometimes I don't like it, okay? There's a couple of methods you can do. So the quick peel is fine. You can reset your peel here. If you don't like it, you can reset it, peel it. I like that one better, okay? And so we're going to let that one go right now. Now, let's go ahead, and now that we already have our seams, let's plug our checkerboard pattern back in here, so that we can see what's going on. And you'll see as I move these, it's sliding around. Now, it has its own checkerboard pattern in here, but if I want to, I can come in here and I can tell it to pick a texture, and then I can actually use the texture that I already have put in here. But really, it doesn't matter because it's just a checker. So you can do that if you want to. A lot of times if I'm painting a texture, I'll do that. Okay, let's come in here and get the outside, and let's go ahead and slide that out there, and let's go ahead and do a quick peel on that. Where did it go? Okay, I did that. All right, let's go with this is probably what I'm going to end up doing anyway, because I can already tell you I don't like the way it was looking. So we're going to do a pelt. Okay, the way this pelt works is it puts what's called a stretcher on here, and it's going to pull it out. Now, a lot of times the stretcher is not big enough, okay? So what you want to do is open it up a little bit. So you can go right here on your pelt options and go select the stretcher. Let's right-click the scale, and then we're going to zoom back a little bit, and then we're going to grab the edge and scale this out a little bit, okay? And I'm going to move it back over to center it back on top. And now what we're going to do is tell it to start to pelt, and it's going to unwrap that. If that's what I want, I can click OK, commit it, and then it's already unwrapped that, okay? And then we'll just want to scale that back down a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to rotate this so it's a little bit straighter. Okay, now I can get both of these right now, and initially I'm just going to come right here and pack them. So I can go in right here and click this button, and that'll pack those in there. And just so I can see it a little bit better, I'm going to change this checker to something like 30 so I can get a smaller pattern on there. And then I'm going to relax these. Okay, so this piece right here, you can see it's pretty much squares, but see how it's got a little bit of a waver in it? Okay, so what I'm going to tell it to do is right up here in the tools, I'm going to go down here and click relax. And I'm going to, at the top of here, it defaults to edge angles, but I want polygon angles. So in other words, it's going to try to make all these polygons at 90-degree angles. And then I'm going to hit start relax, and it's going to relax that. And look at it looks like now. See how it's really straightened those up? Pretty nice squares. That's what I like. Okay, so now we're going to do the same to this. Let's relax this one. This one was pretty good, not bad. And so there we go. So let's drop that in. Turn off my wireframe. And now you can see I've got a pretty nice checkerboard pattern. Same size checkers. That's pretty good. Okay, so that's ready to go into Mudbox. Okay, so since I'm in Max 2016 and I have Mudbox 2016, I can make it go directly over into there. So all I have to do is go up here to export. I'm sorry, not export, but send to, and send to Mudbox as a new scene, and it'll launch Mudbox, and then it'll put our object in there. Okay, so now that you're in Mudbox, you may or may not see your image. One of the best things to do is come up here at the top where you've got your little navigator and hit the home button, and that'll bring you back to the center of your grid. And then there's my object in there. Okay, so bringing my object in, it's already been unwrapped. So if you go up here to your UV view, you can see there's its mapping coordinates that we brought in with it. Okay, now it is possible to actually bring an object in that does not have mapping coordinates, and you can apply your own mapping coordinates in here. And so, as a matter of fact, if you bring an object in and it doesn't have mapping coordinates, you'll get an error message that says, do you want to create them? And you can say yes. So I'm just click the button to create your own. And all I have to do right here is go replace existing UVs, and it's going to create its own UVs. Okay, so if I didn't have UVs when I brought it in, I would tell it to create UVs. And now if I go over here and look at this, you can see this, and this is a mess. Okay, basically what it's doing is breaking the entire piece down into little bitty tiles, which allows me to paint within Mudbox. Now the problem with this is I can't use this file outside of Mudbox. I mean, I could export this and use it into Photoshop, but could you imagine trying to figure out what's what and try to paint on these little tiles in Photoshop? It's just insane. So you really don't want to do that. You don't want Mudbox creating your UVs. You want to create the UVs before you bring them in. You don't want Mudbox creating your UVs because you want to be able to either paint three-dimensionally in here, or actually you can paint in ZBrush, as well as paint inside of Photoshop. So you want to create your UVs first before you bring them into Mudbox. Don't let Mudbox create its own UVs, because you won't be able to edit it outside of Mudbox. Like we might want to go in and put some things in Photoshop. You wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the basics of what you should be doing, is unwrapping your objects in Max or Maya. And then once you have those unwrapped, and they're good unwraps, by putting checkerboards on there and checking those to make sure you have good pixel density and there's no stretching, then save that out and bring it in. And of course you can go directly send this in here, but this only works to send in if you have the same version. So if you have Maya 2015, Mudbox 2015, those will work together. Max 2015, Mudbox 2015, those will work together. But if you've got 2016 in there, so if it's like Max 2015, Maya 2015, Mudbox 2016, then you can't send them in and out. What you have to do in that case is just export them, okay? When you export those out, you can either export them out as an FBX, okay, or you can export them out as an OBJ. Both of those will work to export those out to bring them into Mudbox. Okay, hopefully that'll help you out. Thank you.